I don't even know what to say. Lose your head. Why? Why does this movie exist? Very rarely do I watch a movie where I just hate it. I just hate it with a passion. Usually I would say, oh, it wasn't that good. Oh, it was a bit boring. I wouldn't recommend it. I won't watch it again. This movie should not exist. This movie was awful. It was just awful. And it could have been so good if they had just done it right, and they seemed like they refused to do it right. I don't know. It's a German movie, and the few German movies that I've seen, I've really enjoyed and were really good, and this wasn't that at all. And it's based on a true story, so I guess I can't really knock the story, but they didn't even use it. They were inspired by it, and then they just did what God knows what. And it's basically about, as far as I know, the true story is about a Portuguese guy who goes missing in Berlin, and it's the story of him, I guess, how he went missing and his family looking for him. And I was like, okay, this should be interesting. It's a real story, so I'm assuming that they know who did it, and it's gonna be a great mystery. In the end, we're gonna get some closure. No, it was awful. They changed it completely, and then they just I don't know what they did. It was about a Spanish guy who goes to Berlin after he breaks up with his boyfriend, and who, by the way, the ex-boyfriend was the nicest person in the entire film. And he goes to Berlin to sort of get a new perspective on life, and you're thinking, okay, this poor guy got his heart broken, and he's gonna go and have some fun in Berlin with the crazy clubs and everything, and he meets some people. But it's awful. It's awful. I mean, the acting is terrible. And throughout the whole thing, I was thinking, okay, this is a movie shot in Germany, and there's a Spanish actor, there's a... what is the other actor? I think he's Austrian, I think. There's Greek actors, there's German actors. I was like, okay, this is going to be a mixture of cultures, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be great. And they all speak English, so it's different accents and everything's great, and it was awful. It was awful. Everybody was awful. The acting was awful. The main guy, I hated him. I hated him with a passion from the first minute that I saw him. And I wanted to like him. He looked likable, and he was awful. And I didn't know if it was the actor's fault or what, but he talked, and is this offensive to say now in 2014? He was like a retard. Was that bad? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. He just spoke so fucking slowly, and it was annoying. I understand that he's Spanish and he has an accent, and English is not his first language, and I was totally fine with that. It's not my first language. I think it's obvious. So, you know, I'm not judging anybody for how they speak, but Jesus fucking Christ, it was too much. I understand that he's trying to portray a tourist and everything, but come on, get it over with. He talked like a toddler. It was just too much. And then basically his story is he's in Berlin, and there's a missing guy from Greek that looks just like him. So he sort of bumps into the Greek guy's family, and they were also very likable, the sister and the cousin. They were very nice, and she was so beautiful, and I think she was really good, in she had a small part, but I really liked them. And then he knows, you know, the Spanish guy knows exactly what happened to the Greek guy, and he knows exactly who was with him, and he knows exactly what happened, and he decides not to say anything. Who the fuck does that? And then, I'm just gonna spoil the whole thing, because I don't want you to watch it. So there you go. He meets a guy, and after one day he's in love. How does he fall in love, you ask? The guy throws him in a river, and the Spanish guy almost drowns. And by the way, the scene before that, he had his phone. He gets thrown into the river. The next scene, he has his phone again. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Think about that. I know it's something so small, but it's just so fucking simple. Don't have his phone working the next scene after he was in the river. I mean, simple as that. So he meets this guy who is clearly a psycho. I mean, just look at him. He's fucking creepy. And he threw you into the river, and now you're in love with him. And your ex-boyfriend, who is so fucking nice, keeps calling you and telling you, I love you, please come back to me. And you're like, I want to experience new things. I'm in love with someone else after I just met him one day ago. And I need to go back to Spain, but you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna miss my flight because this guy's so fucking great. So he goes to his house, and he finds pictures of the missing guy from Greece, and he finds his stuff in there, and then he meets the family of the missing guy, who are looking for his new boyfriend, and he decides to say, no, I don't know him. I don't know who that is. I can help you. Bye. Who the fuck does that? He was such a fucking bastard for the entire thing. And you try and think, okay, he's just in love, he's young, and he wants to, you know, protect his new boyfriend, blah blah blah. Who the fuck does that? He did the worst things ever on purpose. I mean, he pretended that, you know, he got mugged in the earlier in the film, and he saw that the mugger had a tattoo. And then he saw that the missing guy had the same tattoo, and he was like, oh yeah, that's him. He mugged me. He's totally alive. And because no one believed him, he stole the missing guy's necklace from the boyfriend's house and planted it on the spot where he got mugged. And he's like, see? That's his necklace. He's totally alive, I told you. So now he's just lying to this poor guy's family. And the poor sister who broke my heart, she was actually concerned for her brother, and she knew that he would never leave without saying anything. And the guy's just like, oh no, your brother's a piece of shit, you know, he robbed me, and then he's just gonna go party with someone else, bye. And then he was supposed to call and change his flight, because he missed it, obviously, with all this crap. So he calls to change his flight, and they're like, okay, how about next Friday? He's like, yeah, sure. And he hangs up, and he goes over to his sister, and he's like, guess what they told me? Someone boarded my flight this morning. I didn't need to change it. And who looks like me? Your brother. Your brother's totally alive, and he's in Madrid. Guess what? I'm sending you to Madrid. You can stay in my ex-boyfriend's house and just find your brother there. Who the fuck does that? You know that the guy's dead. You know that your boyfriend killed the guy. Let's be honest. So you send the family to a different country, trying to look for the guy saying that he's alive and that he boarded your plane, and you're just gonna let them stay with your ex-boyfriend, who's way too nice for you, by the way. Why am I even talking about this movie now? And then the end. I'm just gonna spoil the whole thing, like I said. I'm just gonna spoil it. Don't watch this movie ever. At the end, there was a whole scene which kept getting worse and worse, and it kept getting ridiculous, and it's all a dream. Of course it is. Of course it's all a dream. So then he wakes up for real after he went through such crap. He got hit by a car, and the guy didn't even take him to the hospital. He took him to some abandoned building, and he took his phone, and the guy's like, where's my phone? He's like, oh, you lost it. Yeah, right. And so he finds his door when he wakes up. He's like limping, by the way, not convincingly at all. He was actually using his wrong leg to limp on, so that was bad. And he goes down into like this dark basement, and he sees a shadow, and he says, I'm coming, and then the movie ends. Oh, and they show, no, that's not how the movie ends, bullshit. They show the ex-boyfriend in Berlin posting pictures of him saying missing. So the ex-boyfriend actually cared about the Spanish guy. I don't know why. I don't know why he cared about him. And he actually went to look for him. He was the nicest person ever. And these fucking bastards. And I'm all for having, you know, villains and unlikable characters as main characters. I'm all for that, but this was just too much. It was frustrating to watch. It was awful to watch. It was just so bad. And, I mean, just from the beginning, it was a bit ridiculous. He's totally gay. He is totally gay. He's not, like, bisexual or anything like that. He's gay, gay, gay. But then he goes home with this girl, who's gorgeous, by the way, and she was so nice to him, and she obviously likes him. She's giving him a blowjob, and he falls asleep. Go fuck yourself. Why did you do that? Why? And then he's trying to be all nice to the girl, and she's like, fuck off. He called like the he called the firemen to get him out of the house, of the girl's house, because it was locked. Everybody went out partying. She's like, you called the cops on me. He's like, you left me there. She's like, go fuck yourself. And then he hits her. He hits her in the middle of the street, square in the face, and she falls and hits her head, and there's blood everywhere. He just looks at her, and then he goes away. Never again. I mean, don't watch this movie. I'm getting mad just thinking about it. It was awful. It was awful. And I'm never this mean about movies. You know, if a movie is not good, then that's fine. But this was just trying to be not good from the looks of it. It was awful. It was awful. I think it could have been great if they actually used the story and if they actually cared about it, because it seems like they didn't. It seems like they didn't give a shit about anything. And I think that's very offensive, by the way. This is a real story about someone that actually went missing, and it's like they didn't give a shit at all. Lose your head. No. I'm done. Never watch this movie, please. Never, never.